How's it going, everyone? We are back for maybe one of the final episodes of the year. I don't know. I got to talk to my fellow Orange County Soccer Cast, Orange and Black Soccer Cast partners here. We'll figure that thing out. Hey, I'm going to just let you right now. I'm running on just sort of, this is improv for me. So hopefully this goes smoothly. The great thing is I got some help with some of my co-hosts here. So let's get this thing started. Welcome to the Show of Champions. This is the Orange and Black Soccer Cast. How's it going, Orange County? I believe you all can see me. I cannot see you. For whatever reason, my screen is stuck. There we go. How's it going, Orange County? Welcome to the Orange and Black Soccer Cast, the first and only show dedicated to Orange County Soccer Club fans and supporters. I'm your host, Ray Samora. I'm here to take you through this journey as we discuss all things Orange County Soccer Club. Like I said, I got some great help this episode. As always, first and foremost, it is my man, Dylan. Dylan, how are things for you?
Things are going all right. I do appreciate you saying as always, as if I'm always here. And I just want to point out that last week, Brad said he was doing a Channing Tatum impression or reference when he said, "That's bait." And I actually believe it was, in fact, Tom Hardy. But I wouldn't know. I think he was making a Mad Max reference. Can we speak to the man and find out, Bradley?
Yeah, for some reason I was thinking Gambit from Werewolf and Wolverine and Deadpool. I said that backwards, but you know what? I believe you're right. That is Mad Max, which is a shame because Mad Max is one of my favorite movies of the 21st century. DK will have my moviegoers card taken away for that.
All right. Well, that's fine. I couldn't name a movie that he's in other than 21 Jump Street and Magic Mike. So what does that say?
Dylan's favorite movie, Magic Mike. Let's get into this conversation. Wait, first, Dylan, show us your best Magic Mike.
This is a children's show.
Okay. Let's try and get things going here with this episode. Maybe it'll go a lot smoother from this point on. Like I said, I'm almost running on improv mode here. Like I don't do that every week, but this is even more than normal because, like I mentioned last week, I'm in the middle of a big move. I just moved into the new location, and literally about 20 minutes before our show tonight, I was looking for parts of my computer, like a mouse, a keyboard, and even my laptop. So that's how things go. But we're not here to talk about my move and my problems. We're here to talk about Orange County Soccer Club and what's going on since the offseason. It's been a while since they were eliminated from the USL Championship playoffs. And obviously last week we talked a little bit about how that all wrapped up. This week we're getting into some of our off-season chat to wrap up the 2025 calendar. And this week, we're going to get into some personal opinions on things that happen with this club. Mainly, what we're going to talk about is each of our high for the season and each of our low for the season. So, because I am improvising this and I didn't get much prep time, I've asked Dylan and Brad to go first so I can just think about stuff and give you a really good answer instead of a sort of BS answer as we go through this. So I'm going to open it up to Dylan and Brad. Which of you would like to go first with your high and low? And we'll talk about that. So share with us your high and we'll talk about it. Then share with us your low and we'll talk a little bit about that. And again, if you're listening live, jump in the comments and give us your opinions and thoughts on it all.
Yeah, normally my high for the year would be whatever match I made it out to the champ this year. Unfortunately, with getting married and doing a lot of spending that I wasn't expecting to, I didn't make it out. However, my high for the year has got to be the absolute clown show that was Orange County versus Birmingham Legion, 4-4. I just remember very much watching that game and being like, we got a 9th goal in this game. I don't know who's going to score, but like at the end of the day, this game's drunk. And like seeing the team perform like that, it was definitely the weirdest game I've ever seen, going from an own goal to immediately tying it back up. That's got to be my high of the year. It's very rare we see games like that. My low of the year, I think, was Grayson Duty's injury. He was the first of quite a many injuries that really derailed the season. I don't hope that I'm stealing somebody else's, but honorable mention goes to the departure of Kyle Scott going to England. But injuries really derailed this season, especially in the middle point. It's very disappointing that Grayson Duty didn't get to play a full season, but on the bright side, he's coming back, spoiling something that we're going to talk about at the end of the show. He's definitely a very positive player, and I loved watching him when he played for Vegas, and I'm still happy he's on the team now.
All right, I'll just say, since Brad's basically covered everything, we might as well just wrap up the episode here, because Brad stole my low point of the season. So now I have to think about something else.
34 weeks, and Ray can't think of a second moment.
Yep, buddy, I think you got plenty of low moments to pick from. I mean, do you want to talk about the part where we conceded 4 against Birmingham and then conceded 4 against Detroit?
Well,
how about when we conceded
but
3 against San Antonio and 3 against New Mexico? And go ahead, Ray.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, you're talking about conceding 4 against Birmingham. Wasn't that Brad's high?
It could also be a low, Mr. Defense wins championships.
Well, let's talk about that, Brad, though. Like, and Dylan, what are your thoughts on Brad's high there of the 4-4 match against Birmingham? I mean, obviously, I think where Brad is coming from that is this is a team that was struggling to score goals for most of the season. So a strong offensive output of 4 goals, even though it didn't result in a victory because we also conceded 4. I could see where that can be considered a high because, yeah, we sucked at scoring goals this year.
Yeah, we scored 4 goals as we throttled, whichever verb you'd like to use, Phoenix, 4-1 on the 30th of July. 1 month later, we managed to score 4 goals. In that time, we managed to score 2 goals. So I absolutely understand that it was kind of feast or famine for Orange County for a little bit, and we kind of got both in that match, and things got a little bit crazy. I'm glad we didn't have to watch a whole season of that because I don't know if any of us would still be alive. That being said, I think our early season criticisms were, are we just going to win every match 5-4?
We were wrong.
Certainly we were wrong because we couldn't find the back of the net. We couldn't buy a goal for quite some time. And then it turns out that the defense figured itself out, and we got in off of some pretty good performances towards the end of the year.
Yeah, that whole early season, we thought we were just going to have to outscore everyone. I'm hoping that I was a guest on a show earlier this season, and that was basically my comment. It was right after that first match where we just looked great offensively. I'm like, oh yeah, this team's going to put up goals this year. You better watch out. We're gonna be scoring goal after goal. Now our defense is the question, and yeah, hopefully that is lost forever and no one can find a copy of that. The Grayson Duty injury. That really sucked for this team. I think all of us were very excited to see what Grayson would be able to do for Orange County this season. Obviously, we didn't get much time to watch him. Like Brad said, we're going to talk about his return in 2026 because that was announced over this past week. The bright side of Grayson Duty injury is I think we got to see a little bit more playing time from the younger players that maybe we wouldn't have seen had we had a healthy Grayson Duty. So there can be a positive spin put on the injury to Grayson Duty early in the season. Really gave us a chance to see what some of the youngsters could do. And those youngsters that got the opportunity really stepped up and looked great. Brad, I know this was yours, the Grayson Duty thing. Does that change anything in your thought process of like, yeah, I guess, yeah, that was a low, but we got some positive out of it?
Yeah, I'm very much excited that we got to see. I think Pedro was the player who really stood the most to gain from Grayson Duty's injury, and he's done amazing for his career. He got minutes with the U17 team at the World Cup in Qatar. But still, at the end of the day, Orange County is a team trying to compete for championships, and although Pedro performing as well as he has been is definitely a positive and something that should be celebrated, coming at the expense of a player that I think us as a group were extremely excited to see was definitely a low light.
And I'm going to skip your honorable mention because I don't care. I'm going to want to talk about that as my low, because anyone that has watched this show over the last 2 to 3 seasons, my favorite player on this team has been Kyle Scott over the last few seasons. So I'm going to take that one. Sorry, Brad. So just producer Andy, just erase that on the live stream. Don't let anyone hear what Brad said there, and we'll be good to go. Dylan, give us your highs and lows. Your one high and one low. You don't need to go into honorable mention like Brad was trying to do here for 2025 for Orange County.
Yeah, I'm happy to follow directions here. Take that one, Brad. My season high was the 3-1 win versus Las Vegas in July. I made it to a handful of matches for Orange County this season. That was the only home match that I got to. Ray loves to point out that I live elsewhere, far too close to Cal Expo for anyone's liking, certainly my own. Being able to get back to the champ and get into the County Line Collision and seeing my heart out. I was told I had to do extra work that night because Blaine happened to not be there, and I was very happy to oblige. Following that one up with my low is, of course, being at Cal Expo, because that should be a low moment in anyone's life, but specifically the 2-1 loss to Sacramento in October, where we did nothing for well over an hour, and I thought that that was the window in which we had a chance to get into the playoffs. I felt like it was closing after that match. I didn't see a way back. Now, I'm very happy that the team proved me wrong, but I think I turned to Larry, who was also at that match, and said, well, it was nice to see you again. At least I got that out tonight. And, life moves on.
I was going to say, I mean, the fact that you live near Cal Expo and you got to be there for the playoff victory, I guess not victory, playoff advancement.
There we go.
But part of that is you got to see the great performance of young goalkeeper Tet Cadono coming in, saving not 1, not 2, but 3 PKs in the shootout. That had to been at least one of the. I know I said no honorable mention, but that has to be a little bit of an honorable mention for you, Dylan, right?
I won't call it an honorable mention, but it was a very special moment. I guess it's technically the postseason, so I never actually considered it. I will say that I've seen some really special goalkeeping moments at Cal Expo, and none of them have ever been from a Sac Republic goalkeeper. They've been Colin Shuttler scoring a last-minute equalizer, and Tet Cadono. It wasn't at Cal Expo, but a couple years ago, Juan Santana blanking Sac Republic on their 10th anniversary was pretty special too. So
in front of that big crowd, yeah.
Oh yeah, at Hughes Stadium, no less. It could not have been better. Hey, almost sack local kind of Seth Kasiple scoring the second goal that night. It really was kind of the perfect thing. But yeah, it was technically the postseason, so it doesn't count.
You could count the postseason in your highs and lows.
Make this very semantic because I can. It is technically the postseason. It's different, and we're not going to have an episode next week where we talk about our postseason highs and lows because
maybe we do that if that's what you want to do, Dylan.
There's absolutely no. It's going to be the same high. It's going to be the same low for all of us. We could just move past it.
Brad, your thoughts on what Dylan offered up as his high and low for 2025?
I honestly forgot the high.
I'm so happy for you. I mean, you could have been there, but you were too busy getting married or something, and so.
Oh yeah,
I don't know why you had to do that.
Being at the stadium, yeah, very jealous. I didn't prepare to have a rebuttal for Dylan, and have to repeat myself many a times out of confusion.
All right, we'll take that. Yeah, Dylan, are you okay with that?
I'm fine with that. Yeah.
So we want to get to my high and low. I'm just going to go straight to the low first. We could talk about that. Then we'll talk about the high because Brad stole my low. And I'm sorry, Brad. I'm taking it still, even though that was just your honorable mention. Dylan's mad at me. Why are you mad at me, Dylan? You have to know. Both of you have to know. Kyle Scott was my favorite player on this team. So I get it. It's a positive for him because he's moving to probably where he'd rather be, playing in England. Nothing against Orange County, but most players on this team, I don't think Orange County is their high or their, where they want to be. I think there's always the thought of using Orange County as that stepping stone to go somewhere higher. I think for someone like Kyle Scott, who was playing in England, came out stateside, I think didn't really, I don't remember. Did he get an opportunity in MLS at all?
He came from Cincinnati. He kind of had a very part-time role on a very bad Cincinnati team, and they kind of kicked him to the curb at the end of that year.
So he comes to Orange County, proves himself, reinvents himself, and then now gets an opportunity to move back to England. I'm assuming that's the progression. I don't think Orange County, I don't think it's like in U.S. sports where Orange County was able to just like send him away to Death Valley and be like, I don't want you here anymore. Go there, and I know you don't want to be there, but tough luck. That's American sports, but at least at the USL level, that's not how things work. It usually is you're sending a player somewhere because they want to be there. And I think this is what Kyle wanted. It was tough for me to see this just for the fact that we all know what Kyle Scott and Kevin Partita, when they're both healthy and on point, what that brings to Orange County's roster and to their game day tactics. Unfortunately, over the last probably 2 seasons, really, when you look at it, we haven't really got to see many matches where both of them are full strength and playing top of their level. It's either one's injured or one of them is recovering and just getting back into play, and then the other one gets hurt, or that someone gets a red card or yellow card suspension, right? So unfortunately, I think we didn't get to see enough of that pairing of Partita Scott over the last 2 seasons, and obviously it's a low for me because I think if you have Kyle Scott on this roster at the end of the season and in the playoffs, there's a potential different storyline for Orange County with basically the poophousery that he brings to the pitch in just sort of messing with the opponent's mindset. I'm trying to keep it kid friendly for you, Dylan, if you didn't notice.
I recognize that. Do you think he would have rugby tackled Roro Lopez? And if so, what would that have looked like? I mean, more hair, certainly.
Well, yeah. I would say if he would have done it, it would have probably looked a lot cooler than what we got. What is that face, Dylan?
It was such a good rugby tackle. I mean,
but I think Kyle Scott would have made it look better. I mean, nothing against Stephen Kelly, but I think
Chris Hagart.
Oh man.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, Chris Hagart. Chris Hagart.
Mistaken identity happening on the show in the last 2 weeks.
Sorry, nothing against Chris Hagart, but I think Kyle Scott would just make it look better because we all know what Kyle Scott does on the pitch. Brad already shared his thoughts. I mean, he used that as honorable mention, but if he wants to throw in any more about Kyle Scott leaving as a low point, go for it, Brad.
Don't need to add anything further, but I think we should talk about players leaving and players returning.
Wait.
Whoa. I want to hear about Ray's low moment.
No, my high. My high. My high.
I'm very sorry.
Kyle Scott was my low. Here's the great thing is I knew you two couldn't steal my high moment for 2025 because y'all weren't here for this, and it was my first experience in a march to the stadium with Orange County Soccer Club, meeting up at the Great Park Ice and marching as a group. And I think there was a good, I want to say 50 of us making the march, and it was in the final home match of the season when Orange County was playing for it all. It was an awesome experience hanging out with everyone before the match at Great Park Ice. And it was amazing chanting and marching and waving flags with a bunch of Orange County Soccer Club fans to the stadium. Something that probably you could say is missing from the atmosphere with Orange County Soccer Club, and mainly because of the logistics of where the stadium is located. There's not really many options for something like this. And even with the march from Great Park Ice, you're having to march through the big old parking lot too, and then the road that you have to walk down to get to the stadium. So it's, again, not like what Brad experienced when his team was in Reno, where literally the march was from the bar, cross the street, you're to the stadium, and you can march into the stadium if you wanted to, or other teams that have maybe sort of those downtown stadiums. Unfortunately, with our setup here in Irvine, we are a team that is literally in the middle of a gigantic park in the suburbs. So there's not many options for something like that. But I feel like it was an awesome experience. I know I bashed Brad for this, but my honorable mention is the watch parties in the playoffs, because those were pretty fun, except for the technical issues.
Honorable mentions. Don't worry. I think for those of you that didn't make it up to Sacramento, you might have been watching Larry allegedly live streaming the match after the stream dropped. Allegedly, of course, because he would never break broadcasting rules, lest we run afoul of ESPN or CBS or whoever runs that on any given week. Ray, I'm really happy to hear. Go ahead,
Dylan. Larry was doing his duty of being able to provide the Orange County fans that were at the watch party at least an update of what's going on until the stream was fixed. He didn't run it for the full 90 plus extra time or whatever's going on. He was doing what he had to do.
He was allegedly doing what he had to do. I like that you don't use the term journalistic duty, because that would imply that we are doing a sense of journalism here. This is a tired man drinking a green Solo cup, I believe.
Yeah.
Ray, I'm really happy to hear that your highest moment was just being with the fans. I've talked about this, and one of the hardest things about not being in Orange County anymore is not really having a third place the way that I did when I was with the County Line Coalition every week or every other week over the course of seasons and years. That's really special.
It was your family, Dylan. That was your family, really.
Well, I'll say it because my family doesn't listen to the show. Yeah, the club is my family. The fans are my family. The supporters. I'm not saying the whole team is your family, Dylan. Yeah, sorry to our future guest. You're not my real dad. In all seriousness, it is really special, and I do think the County Line Coalition is incredibly special. I think we've got something different and got something better than every other club. Mostly because we don't play drums for 3 hours straight and we never sing "We Love Ya." That goes a really long way into making me feel like there might be some positives in this world.
So what I'm going to say, CLC, when Dylan's back for a match, we just need to bang drums and sing I love you" the whole match.
That's not even the chant.
Or we love you.
There you go. Yeah, I do hope Brad, now that he's not as freshly married as he was, gets out, and we all get to see you soon, because this is usually the bummer of my year, is like, oh, cool, it's holidays. When does the schedule get released, and how many months until I can go see my family again, my real family?
But at least, Dylan, during this time, you get some news, like some daily drops or every other day or every third day drops of news for Orange County Soccer Club, because the team drops the information on new player signings or returning players, at least over a prolonged period of time. You get to stay involved with it. It's not just one drop and then you have to forget about it for 2 or 3 months. You get information every single day if you want to talk about stuff, for the most part. So let's talk about that, because over the past week, we've got some more news on returning players. We also got information on another player that looks like will not be returning for 2026. But we did get 4 announcements of returning players over the past week. Those players include Ethan Zubak, Mohamedou War, Nicolas Ciota, and Grayson Duty. I know. Dylan, you always make faces.
He's Ray Liotta, and yes, if you only happen to listen, might I just take the moment to say, why don't you watch us live sometime? YouTube, Instagram, wherever you happen to get your podcast, you can probably find it there. If for nothing else other than my obnoxious face, you're also welcome. Ray, yes, producer Andy.
Raymond, I know you don't know how to use social media, but if you go on social media and you find the player announcement for Ray Liotta, he will tell you exactly how to say his name. He says it, the whole thing. So you can just listen to that and just listen to it like 30 times and just practice saying it. And then you know how to say Nicola's name.
All right, Andy, teach me how to say it right now, and I won't mess up ever again.
I'm not going to try because you can go on social media and find the video and teach yourself.
Producer Andy.
I mean, you give a man a fish, right? But Andy has taught you how to fish. So I love that. Ray,
right.
to sideways or to whatever. I'm giving up. Who are you most excited about returning for 2026?
Ooh, I get to go first on this. And
do,
let's just say this.
yeah.
We're going to say who we're all excited for. You can't steal the other person. So I'm going to go with this. I'm most excited with Mo War. If you don't know me, I know my fellow co-hosts know me very well. I love a good underdog story. And I feel like Mo War is that great underdog story for Orange County Soccer Club. A player that came to open tryouts, didn't quite make the team, didn't give up, came back the next year, got invited to the team with probably very low expectations of what he could do. And he actually became a pretty quality player for this team off the bench. I think that was his key role for the team in 2025. I'm excited to see what he's going to bring for 2026 because I just love what I see in this young soccer stud. I think we can see a lot more out of Mo War in 2026, and he's going to take a big leap forward with this opportunity. So I'm really excited for that. What about you, Dylan?
I think I'm most excited to see what I hope is a full season of Grace and Duty. I'm so glad we had that queued up. That ish does not stink. And I really hope that he can get his feet back under him and we can see what he can do. Not to take away from, a Pedro or a Ray Liotta situation where they've also really kind of made the role their own.
And he's a true number 2.
Yeah, for me, I'm just going to go and agree with DK even though he's not here, and go ahead and glaze Mr. Ethan Zubak, our returning leading goal scorer for 2 seasons in a row. He definitely at the end of the 2024 season improved significantly over where he was at the beginning of that year, and he really carried a lot of momentum into this year. Didn't lose his spot. We were all kind of expecting that. So honestly, looking forward to having him back again and see if he can continue to build off of where he's been.
Well, I'm excited to ask our guest tonight who he is most excited for. It's a bit, I imagine, like asking which one of your kids is your favorite, but as we all know, everyone has one. Ray?
I don't have one. I love both of them equally of my kids. But we will talk about the announcement or the news we got this past week about a player that won't be returning, but we'll hold off on that until we're done speaking with our guest here. And our guest is someone who's been on the show multiple times, and we love having him on because he talks, and we definitely, it's not one of those interviews where you have to ask question after question and you just get 1 or 2 word responses. We're going to get some good responses from this gentleman. That's Dan Rutstein, president of business operations for your Orange County Soccer Club, sporting a very nice OC shirt there. Dan, how you doing?
Great.
Nice.
Awesome.
Way to go. You put all the pressure on. Now he's not going to say anything.
Well, you said you wanted one-word answers. Isn't that what you just said?
That's not what I said, Dad. I said it's awesome because you make our job easy because we don't have to it's, with some people when you interview them, it's like you're performing surgery. You have to really try and get those answers out of them. You're not one of those persons. We were just talking about, we've had 7 announcements of returning players. I know you're part of the club and you got to sort of, do your job of not, singling anything out or like that. But is there any of those 7 players that you're super stoked about returning, or it could be a couple of them that you're excited about as a soccer fan, not as a president of business operations for Orange County Soccer Club.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me on. I think I tried to get on a couple of weeks ago and my schedule didn't allow it, but I'm glad to sneak on before the end of the calendar year. So I should know the answer to this. I'm not actually quite sure who we've announced and who we haven't, even though I secretly know all the answers. But I think of the ones we've announced, I mean, as you say, I wouldn't say they're all my children. That sounds weird. But obviously I'm neutral on these things, but I think a couple of them I want to say something about. I think we announced Grayson Doody today. I'm excited only because, that's helpful. Yeah. Thank you. You brought up the list. I'm excited for Grayson. I think, obviously I'm excited for lots of them, but we never really saw what Grayson can do because one of the terrible things that happened on the night we lost to Antelope Valley, apart from losing to Antelope Valley, was obviously losing him for the year. And I think he was beginning. I think he had scored the week before, or maybe a couple of weeks before, and I think he was on the verge of becoming a bit of a fan favourite. I think it's great, obviously, that when he's fit, to have him back. I think it'll be exciting to see what he does. I think Mo War's a fun one. For a team like Orange County Soccer Club, Mo War is the perfect player. And I don't mean like the playing team. I mean the sort of club we want to be. And I think you all know this story, but like Mo came to the open tryouts and was good. And I think there's some weird stat that someone else needs to confirm. I think he scored more goals in pre-season games than anybody else for this club, because like a couple of years ago, he scored some pre-season games, but didn't make it. But he came back again for the tryouts and then came in and did well. And then, he scored that, whatever it was, 91st minute equaliser quite early in the year. And he just, you see him, he just works so hard. And he's a fast, talented player who might be, along with Andrew Fox, the most polite player ever to play for this club. And so he's just such a nice guy. And I'm delighted that, even at the level that we play at, somebody can come through the trials and actually make a real impact. And I think that's a great story for the young people of Orange County and beyond. So he's just a great story. So I'm obviously excited about, Nico and Ethan and so on. But I just think a fit Grayson and Mo's just a lovely story. So there would be my favourites.
One quick follow-up to the roster and the announcements we have so far, and then I'll let Dylan and or Brad take over the next questions, is based on what we know. We have 7 players that we know that are returning. We have a couple that I believe we know that are not returning for 2026. If you were playing any video game version of soccer/football, and this is sort of the 7 players that you know are going to be on this team, is this a team that you're like, oh, this is a great one to pick to play with, to start a career mode and build a team? Or are you cautiously, or are you lightly cautious on this roster the way it's going right now? And I know you're not a front office man as far as the roster building, but we know you love soccer and you know the sport. So just what would you think on that?
Look, obviously, I'll be slightly careful what I say because I don't want to announce things I'm not allowed to announce. But I think by the time we're finished, we will have more returning players than we've ever had before. Because as you know, rosters at this level, particularly rosters change. And, I think last year there was a lot of turnover. But we've got a lot of people coming back. And that's great because I think we had a great group of players. And, we were 4 seconds past the allotted time in our second playoff game. And, a couple of lapses by a couple of people and suddenly we're out. And I think based on who was left, if that game had gone to extra time, I felt very comfortable that we probably would have got through, and then nobody after that would have phased us. So I know it was a bit of a weird year with some ups and downs and some odd results and a bit of a lull at one point in the middle. But I think for me, this was a team that were, as much as you can't guarantee success. I mean, ask anyone at Louisville, who have a weird habit, which I would be very annoyed about, of going out in the first round of the playoffs to the 8th seed regularly, having basically not lost all year. And I think, once you get into one or two playoff games, it's fine margins. And I think this squad could have won the league. We could have, the last 2 years, actually, I feel comfortable that both last year where we were, one extra time was too much for us. And then obviously what happened this year, this is a good squad. So if most of the squad are coming back, then we should feel good about what next year looks like.
Dan, you happen to allude to some highs and lows for the club in 2025. What were your personal high and low for the year?
So obviously I'm a football fan, but I also I have a job to do running the business side. So it's quite dark in here, isn't it? Let's see if I can get any more light on me. So I'm going to pick my highlight, I think, from my side of the business, which is obviously the fan side of the business, as it were. We sold out 10 games, which is twice as many as we've ever sold out before in the regular season. And obviously you guys were there for probably in Ray's case, all of them maybe, but nearly all of them. But the atmosphere this year at times was spectacular. So I think for me, it's a bit of a generic high, but some of the atmospheres at the stadium were great. So obviously Pete and I have different sides of the business, and Pete and I have this conversation every year. And the best nights for the club are when both sides of the business work. So my side of the business sell out the stadium and create an atmosphere, and his players play well. And there have been times where we've sold out and played badly. There's been times where the crowd has been not wonderful in terms of size, and the players have played brilliantly. But this year, I think probably more than any other year, we had genuine nights of real excitement where, all of the things worked off the field. Like the crowd was big, but it was a powerful anthem, and some of the stuff we were doing off the field worked really well, and the team played well. And given that, like every sports team, the reality is we're a memory-making business. There were some really memorable evenings created for fans this year, I think more so than before. And look, that does include even, I'm trying to remember which game it was. You guys are better at this than me. The 3-3 game, we came back from behind 3 times. Now, obviously, ideally from a Pete's point of view, we don't have too many games where we concede 3 goals. But from a fan point of view, 6 goals, 3 equalisers, a sold-out crowd, that's the sort of game people remember. So I think for me, the highlights were some of the sort of off-field atmosphere. I think it was great. We made changes to the stadium, as you know, in terms of redoing the GA, in terms of some of the branding, some of the stuff, the kids-only section was... I actually suggested it in a meeting pre-season as a joke, and we ended up doing it, and it actually worked out really well. So I think for me, all of that stuff was great. The low light, I think it's just how we lost in the playoffs. So if you get played off the park like some teams did, then that's what it is. But when you lose with the last kick of the game in a game where you probably would have won if you had just got through that last 4 seconds, I think that's the cruelty of sport. But I think for me, it didn't feel like it all season long, but definitely in the last 10 games of the year, we had that feeling that we've had at this club before in 21. And actually we had it last year as well, where suddenly this group of young men galvanised. And I thought this might be ring number 2. But it wasn't to be. I don't know if you've done this already. What were your highlights and lowlights?
Yeah,
You covered my highlight already. What you said was 3-3. I think you were talking about Birmingham, and that was 4-4. That was my highlight for exactly the reasons you said. It was that's a game that I was watching, unfortunately, at home here in Vegas. But I was like, man, this game is drunk. This game is crazy. This game is unlike anything I've ever seen. And I agree with you for all of those reasons. And then my low light was injuries, particularly to duty.
Yeah.
Yeah, my highlight was what I think I mistakenly referred to as the 3-0 win, but it was actually a 4-0 win in July against Las Vegas. And my low light was the 2-1 loss at the beginning of October against Sacramento in Sacramento. And I don't even remember. Ray was upset about Kyle Scott.
Yep.
And he's muted, so he can't.
Yes,
he's
no,
pulling
no.
a Brad right now. Oh, okay.
No, Kyle Scott getting sold out to England, which is great for him, but it sucked for the team because a lot of fans loved him, and you could see the loss of him in the midfield through that part of the season. And then my highlight was the last match of the season, the march to the stadium. I think it was an awesome experience for myself as a fan. And I think a lot of the fans, I brought like a group of a bunch of people that either haven't been to many games or it was their first experience, and they came and participated in that march, and they all left like excited. They loved it. They thought it was an awesome experience. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah, and actually, Brad, of course, as I said, you would be. You were right. It was actually even worse than I had said. It was 4-4. But the thing is about sport, and we all know this. And so I work for the club, but I'm also a fan, and I think some of we had some great I might not be able to remember them all, but I definitely remember the feeling. There were some great nights of ridiculous cheering, and obviously I'm lucky enough, privileged enough, I get to run on the field. I wouldn't say run actually, but I walk briskly onto the field after games, particularly when we've won, and it's great, high-fiving players who've just scored great goals and played well. But there's been some great moments. There was one, actually, I probably shouldn't have done it, but I get quite physical. I'm really actually quite bad at my job in the sense of, I think like during games, I'm going to go around checking on people, seeing things are okay, trying to persuade sponsors to, partner with us and all that sort of stuff. In the end, I just sort of, I'm having conversations with people, and then somebody might score or nearly score, and I start shouting or swearing at the referee. So I'm actually very bad at my actual job on game day in terms of sort of representing the club. But I was standing, it was one of the games near the end of the year, and I was standing next to a member of City of Irvine staff, who are, as you know, a very, very important stakeholder for us. And we scored a goal, and I punched him in the arm, which he took very well, actually, but that could have been the end. We could have been thrown out of the stadium. So I have to be a bit more careful next year about my physicality with guests, just in case they are VIPs. But that's what sport does. It's exciting. It gets you going, and we've had some really great moments this year. Not quite enough, I would say, goals at the right end. We want all the goals to be scored at your end, as it were. No offence to the other fans, but everyone loves the goals scored at that end. I think for some reason this year I felt like we scored more at the other end than usual. I don't know if that's an actual stat or just a feeling. But other than that, I think we've had some great atmospheres this year. And obviously that's what makes people keep coming back.
I just want to say that really quickly, you can punch Ray anytime.
Okay.
That is goal, nothing, any reason, just starts awaken. That's totally fine.
Yeah, agreed. Hashtag Samora out.
Hey, I will say really quick, Dan, you could punch me if you want to. If you'll give us a shot out on the scoreboard at the stadium, I'll let you punch me in front of the fans.
I might take you up on that, Ray.
All right. Well, moving on. We talked about some of the stuff on the field. I want to focus a little stuff off the field, or really off on. I don't know what you can call it, but there's a little rumor, and we saw a little post about an official LED display partner moving forward. I don't know if you can speak about that, but we think that there's going to be a little bit of an upgrade or a couple of upgrades coming on in the stadium this upcoming season. Dan, do you have any comment on that?
Yeah. Well, that's an easy one because I wrote the press release. But yes, we're going to have LED boards. So look, I wish we'd had them 3 years ago. They are not inexpensive, it would be fair to say. So you have to be able to justify it with sort of, sponsorship revenues. But, good stadiums have LED boards. And I remember, I think it was last year, I remember we were at Vegas, and I remember seeing Vegas had boards. I'm like, Jesus, if Vegas have got boards, then we really should have boards. No offense to, that's pretty rude, but no offense to Vegas. But because obviously their stadium is not wonderful, as you guys all know. But anyway, we have made that investment, and we will have LED boards, which I think is a couple of things. So look, it just looks more professional. It does increase our chances of having televised games, because it's one of the criteria the USL use. So that's obviously, those sorts of things are good. I think from a fan engagement point of view, it's fun. Obviously, we're not quite there yet, but I imagine some of our partners will do not necessarily funny, but sort of slightly more interesting, ads, as it were. So we will use them for sort of crowd interaction stuff as well, because we can. So I think it will add to the atmosphere. And then obviously from a pure business point of view, it's obviously a great driver of revenue. It adds value to sponsors. And I think it's a sign of maturity as a club, and I'm excited to have them. I think it's going to look great in the stadium, and it's going to be a big upgrade. So we're excited for that.
Any other upgrades that you can really tell us about, of things looking forward to next year? Since obviously I don't think we're going to have a chance to chat with you until sometime next season.
So how does this work for you guys? You take a break after this week, do you, or do you keep going through till? Do you go all the way through?
We'll do some awards, we'll do some off-season prep, and then we'll take our little hiatus and come back right around preseason time.
Yeah. So look, how do I do this? So I have nothing to share with you this evening in terms of official news. However, we will all have failed in our jobs if when you come to the stadium, not necessarily for the, we do a season member pre-season game, which is normally, mid to late Feb. May not be then, but by the time everyone walks through the door on whatever the March date is, our home opener, I expect things to not be as they are at the moment, in a good way. So that's all I'm going to say. But we are working hard to enhance the experience for everybody next year.
Anything else you want to highlight, off the field? Any personal off the field highlights or lowlights you want to share? I know we went through kind of the highs and lows of the season, but we want to give you the chance to chat about the things you do and the value you bring to the team.
So I think I continue to believe, and as you know, I do quite a lot of sort of podcasts and all these bits and pieces. I continue to believe one of the things that sets us apart as a club is our ability to combine, to use one of our club mottos, our community heart and our global vision. So the fact that we sold out the stadium 10 times for us is huge. Like I said, it's twice as many as we've ever sold out before. So I set my team a task of selling out more than half the games, and we did that. And I'm very pleased with the work they did. And I'm pleased because it means that we gave more people in Orange County the opportunity to see their professional soccer team play. And I think we had a good product on and off the field this year. And I think that was great. So for me, that was a big step forward. And in terms of that sort of community part of what we do, having all those people together is great. I think linked to that, some of the community outreach we did locally was great. I think we did it twice actually this year. The Orange County Fire Authority doing the flyovers with the helicopters, I think was lovely. It was lovely because I think it did help with the atmosphere, but also it's lovely because what it symbolises. And I think, as you probably know, we gave a number of tickets to firefighters every game this year because of all the things that happened. Although the fires were in LA, the people who worked on the fires were from across Southern California. So we wanted to do something for the firefighters. And I think it was Cityside Fibre bought the tickets for the firefighters. So we had, I think, 150 firefighters at every game this year, and obviously those flyovers were great. Again, as part of the community. Non-profit night we did this year, it was by far our biggest and most successful in terms of the amount of money we gave out to the charities. And I think that's obviously really important that we continue to be a vibrant part of the community. So in that sort of local sense, I think that was great. And the other part of that is, as you know, I'm very proud of the ownership scheme that we run. I think it's special for our team. And one thing we did this year finally is I think owners who invested over a certain level were invited to private training sessions, and they came to those private training sessions, and they absolutely loved that sort of behind the scenes look. And it was exciting to see. I have the privilege of going to training whenever I like. I normally go probably once a week to see what's going on, and to see it through the fresh eyes of people who've never been before. It really is special to be behind the scenes at a professional club, and I think that was lovely. So that's the sort of the local part of this, and then obviously linked to that is the continued work of the community foundation. So as you know, we do fundraisers throughout the year, our golf tour, our foundation gala at the beginning of the year, and we run these after-school programs in Anaheim, and it's great to give back to the community in a footballing sense. But then you've got our international stuff. So we were the first. Actually, it was a couple of firsts. One very personal one to me, as you probably know. We were the first professional sports team in America to launch their own single malt whiskey, which is something that I've been trying to do for 5 years. And for those, I don't know if any of you guys, did you ever get lucky enough to have our whiskey?
No, and I love whiskey, which is a shame.
Oh, well, they are. I think there's still about 8 bottles left of the 150 or whatever. We pretty much sold out, but that was fun to do that as a project. But also we got some great coverage for it. But then also we became, as you know, we did an ownership opportunity in the UK linked to the American one. So we have 500 owners in the UK, and so we became the first USL club to open a club shop in the UK. Online only, but it heartens me enormously. Obviously, we sold thousands of dollars worth of merchandise, which is good for business. But more importantly, there are dozens, scores of items sold in the UK, which means there are a decent number of people walking around the pubs of England and Scotland, particularly Scotland, actually, wearing Orange County Soccer Club gear. And there's no other USL team that can say that. And I know that some of these new teams, Portland Hearts of Pine, all that stuff, have done some incredible work. But the fact that we're selling on the other side of the world and we're a USL League Two team a USL second division team in America is extraordinary, I think. And it speaks to what we've tried to do as a club. I know Ray was upset about Kyle going, but we've always been very clear about that we are a development club. And I think, obviously, we sold Bryce and then brought him back, but he's now got, he will have gone again, as it were. But that's always been our model. And I think, look, Carl was a great player. I'm never convinced by the headband, I'll be honest, but a great player. But he has played he played at Chelsea, played in the MLS. He came to us. He performed really well for us, and then was given a great opportunity off the back of performances for us. And that is, at the end of the day, how we do business. They're different players, but I don't think we can argue that, Stephen Kelly coming into the midfield, gives us a similar version of what, we had from Kyle. And I think that is the reality of the club. And I think so that, the fact we've sold more players again this year, and then you saw, I know it's not a success for us directly, but Milan Alowski, obviously club legend, doing what he's done, where, I think he probably broke some scoring records for San Diego and then was transferred. That's all part of the legacy of what we're trying to build. So I think, between the sort of community work we've done and then this broader global piece, I think it's been a really successful year. And there's obviously more to come. Young Pedro going to the U17 World Cup is great. You look at the list of players at that tournament, and they're all from all over Europe and MLS. And then you've got Pedro from us, obviously. I think I saw somewhere on Transfer Market that Tyson Espes at Bayern Munich. I mean, I don't know where they got that information from, but obviously, having a player like Tyson at a team like Bayern Munich is obviously magnificent. So, we continue to be this unicorn, I think, in the USL, where we've got a great community, we offer a great product off the field and a great atmosphere, yet at the same time, we've got a global reach that other teams not only don't have, aren't even trying to have. And then we've got this player development pipeline, which I think is extraordinary. And I think, sorry, I know this is a long answer, but you did say I'm allowed to talk as much as I like. I think one of the highlights for the club from a player development point of view this year is the kids. There's an irony that obviously we played the kids in the Jägermeister Cup, but I think half the team can't even drink the name of the competition. But beating Sacramento in the Jägermeister Cup with the kids, I think their average age was 27 and ours was like 21 and a half. I think we fielded the two youngest teams in club history this year. And that speaks volumes to, again, the long-term plan of this club. So that's a very long answer, but I am proud of what we do locally and the presence we have nationally. And I think there's only going to be more of that next year when, I don't know if you read, the World Cup is coming to town.
I love it. Really quick, Dan, because you're leading me onto a quick question I want to ask, and I know we're getting tight on time here. Dylan knows what I want to ask you because I'm having some internet issues. I've shared with everyone I moved recently, and our internet's a little spotty. So maybe we can reach out to those Cityside Fiber people, and they can hook us up with some of that great internet that they have, the fiber optics and everything. But World Cup, I wanted to talk to you about it. With the World Cup coming up in 2026, great opportunity for the club to come up with some themes, some ways to market soccer. Thoughts? Yeah.
So look, you will have seen this a bit. I know you guys don't need to read our season ticket campaigns because you're already part of the family, as it were. But the two taglines we've used the most are the world's game right here, which is obviously literally true. But then also real fans watch every week, and I think it's going to be fun. So for, obviously, and we've talked about this before, I grew up with football. Everyone I knew grew up with football. It's all we did. Every lunch break at school, it's all we talked about. It's all we thought about. But in America, it is still niche. It's becoming obviously less niche, but it's still niche. And I think this is going to be a great year for football fans because all of you people who have watched this sport and devoted time and effort to a sport that wasn't necessarily in the mainstream and people didn't care about, suddenly everyone's going to care about your sport. I mean, there'll be a bit where it's a bit annoying where everyone pretends they're an expert because they just watched Argentina play, but you will see what happens to football this summer. And I know obviously America's hosted the World Cup before, but in some ways it was too early because there wasn't enough foundations there. But obviously sport in this country is in a different place now. But I think this World Cup, people are going to get excited about it. Bank of America have been playing radio commercials for football on my radio on my long commute in, for months now. And I think you're just going to start seeing more and more footballers in, on Wheaties boxes and on TV ads and just all over the place. And it's just going to be a real celebration of the game that you guys all love, but maybe doesn't have the recognition. And I think even probably before the tournament starts, we're going to have so many more fans because there will be, there's 3 million people in Orange County and we've got a 5,000 seat stadium. There must be the people who get up at 7 a.m. and watch Premier League games, people who are Liga MX fans who don't even know we exist. We're inserting ourselves into some of this, and I think more people are going to discover we exist. And I wouldn't be surprised in the second half of the year if there are even more people in the stadium who only sort of discovered us as they discovered soccer this summer. So I think I was saying to a friend yesterday, I was at some event, and I said to him, I feel really lucky to be running a professional soccer team in the year that the World Cup is being played locally. And look, Irvine is a World Cup city. I think it's a very badly kept secret that the US national team are going to be training locally. So we are going to be part of the World Cup one way or the other, and I think that's fantastic. So we're right in the middle of it. We've all learned this. We've all watched football in the corners, in the shadows, and now we get to celebrate football in a year where everyone does.
Yeah, so there was a question from one of the listeners if Championship Soccer Stadium or Great Park would be used, and I think you sort of gave a little bit of a hint at that there will be some.
So that's not us. So I think there's somewhere else in the area.
Okay.
A university has been used for, like PSG were somewhere last summer, then the US national team are going to be there, apparently.
Which I'm going to say this with some knowledge is, if you're a fan, don't plan on being able to easily access the training of any team that's at a local university, because that's not going to be something you're going to have access to. Just trust me on that. It's not something worth looking into. Last quick question for you on the World Cup before we let you go. Obviously with World Cup, but we don't know the full set of teams yet, but we know most of the teams in there. I want to ask you, who's going to be like the story? Which country is going to be the story of this World Cup, as far as, doesn't mean they have to win, but they're going to be the country that everyone's sort of talking about in the World Cup this year?
Yeah, look, it's a bit of a weird format, I'll be honest. I'm not sure I'm 100% behind this. Basically, everyone gets to play in the World Cup policy, and nearly everyone gets to qualify for the groups. But I think there'll be some great storylines from some of these new countries, as it were. So Curacao, Cape Verde, I think, there's from such small populations, in the way that Iceland was such a big favourite when they qualified for tournaments. So I think there'll be some underdog stuff. Obviously, England are going to win it. I mean, that's just goes without saying. I think there will be. I'm not sure. You never know with these things, but I wonder whether this World Cup will not be the sort of World Cup of stars, as it were, or these traditional stars. I could be wrong, but I don't know if Messi can do it for Argentina. And, I think people want it to be, particularly in America, I think they want the players they've heard of to do well for the countries they expect to do well. But that's not what happens in the World Cup. It's, some random Colombian you've never heard of, is the star of the show. And I think it'll be a really interesting tournament. There will definitely be some upsets. Some of these teams who are going to come through the playoffs, a big team is going to lose. And if you remember, obviously Argentina actually lost to Saudi Arabia in the last World Cup before then obviously winning it. But there'll be a couple of shocks. There'll be probably a plucky team who will sneak through the groups and get lucky in a second round game, and you'll see, a team from Africa beat an established team from Europe in the knockout rounds. Probably there's always going to be that sort of story, but I've got nothing against Messi in Argentina, but I think everyone in America thinks that they'll win it and he'll do really well, because that's sort of a storyline Americans are familiar with. But I'm not sure it's that simple. So I think there'll be some great games. There'll be some real surprises. England will end up winning it. I think for me, obviously I love the World Cup. I'm excited about it. I'm not interested in going to an England game. I like fun teams you've not heard of, or surprise games. So when I saw all the draws, like, I'm all over Iran, New Zealand at SoFi Stadium. Like, that for me feels like a real World Cup game, because when are you going to see those teams play otherwise? Plus, I imagine those games will not be $2,500 for a ticket. So I'm looking forward to some of the more obscure matches.
So you just broke the hearts of all those not super into soccer U.S. fans that thought Messi was playing for the U.S. because he plays at Inter Miami. You did say you think England's going to win. Who are they beating in the final?
Hopefully Germany, if it all plays out the right way, just on principle. But to be honest, if we've got closer than we've ever have before, I don't really care who we beat as long as we beat somebody. I'm running out of people I know who were alive when England last won the World Cup. So I'm hoping we can just slightly renew it now.
And hopefully no hand of God for this World Cup, right? Dylan, Brad, do you have any last questions for Dan before we let everything wrap up here?
Yes. Dan, obviously the players in the final this year walked out in t-shirts. And there are a handful of rumors about a collective bargaining agreement and how do we put it nicely, labor stoppage. I know it's not your side of things at the club. I know it's not your primary job at the club, but we've received a handful of questions from fans who aren't aware. If you're at training once a week, you probably see more of this. What sort of benefits do the players get, beyond being paid and housing currently?
So it's such a shame, Dylan, that your internet went down during that question, and I can't answer your question about an ongoing CBA discussion between the union and the league. I would love to have known what you asked, but I guess I never will.
Dylan needs Cityside Fiber as well, but he's in Sacramento. I don't know if they're up there yet.
They most certainly are not. Oh, well.
All right. Well, hey, Dan, I joked that you love to talk, and that's why we love having you on the show. But we've also, I think, hit sort of our max amount of time. We're not really we try to keep things within an hour, and we've already now hit an hour and 10 minutes. So before we let you go, any last message to the fans as we head into this long off season and heading into 2026? Keep it brief if you can.
Yeah, look, Ray, I'm going to say what I always say when you ask me this, which is a very big thank you to everyone for all their support through the year. As it always is, it's a season up and downs. It's great to see so many people at the stadium. It's been great to see so many people on the road, in Antelope Valley, in Vegas, in Sacramento. We genuinely appreciate everyone's support. We are going to do everything we can this off season to set something up for another incredible year. There's going to be some big announcements and lots of surprises and lots of good things happening. And we can't wait to see you all back at the Champ next year.
All right. Sorry. I think my internet was going a little wonkers there. Dan, as always, thank you for taking some time to join us. And we look forward to a fun, amazing, and exciting 2026 with Orange County Soccer Club.
Super. Thanks, everyone.
All right, Dylan and Brad, really quick before we wrap things up, I did mention we're going to talk about the one sort of piece of news that we got of a player that will not be returning, and that is one Colin Scheller, who is like a record-setting goalkeeper for Orange County Soccer Club. Brad, give me your thoughts on this. Is this disappointing for you?
Well, yes and no. Like, at the end of the day, we know our players' time here. As Dan mentioned, this is a developmental club, so we know, like, the players we have here, we're not going to have forever. On the same note, Colin Shuttler should have won a title with the team here. He's been outstanding. He has been kind of a very reliable piece for the team over the last couple of years. So it's definitely upsetting he doesn't get that, but at the same time, very proud of everything he's done, and he will be at one point in the Orange and Black Soccer Cast Hall of Fame at this point.
Raymond, did you just pull a Brad?
I did just pull a Brad, and it's because I was typing. I apologize. Dylan, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, a record player for Orange County, certainly. I hope he, as the kids say, as one of our most loyal listeners, Maddie would say, I hope he goes and gets that bag in Colorado. We will always have that late equalizer in Sacramento. And we will have, some of the lows, of course, of a younger Colin Shuttler, but we'll have the highs of having developed a very good goalkeeper. We'll have the highs of some of his big moments, of his big saves. It's disappointing that we didn't get to win a cup with him, but all the same, he's been a good presence for us at the back, and I'm genuinely very happy for him as he moves on.
Yes. Best of luck to Colin Shuttler, except for when he's playing Orange County Soccer Club in the future. But a great part of this club over the past few seasons, and he will be missed being between the sticks, regardless of who takes his spot. All right, we're going to wrap this episode up. Brad, do you have any either random thought or something you learned this episode that you want to share before we wrap it up?
If we don't get the chance to over the next couple of weeks, have a great holiday season, everybody. I imagine we'll still have one or two more shows, but, enjoy your advent calendars if that's something you do.
Dylan?
Brad, since I think Hanukkah starts before our next show, that may or may not, if we don't have a show next week, it will happen before our next show. So, happy early Hanukkah, bud. I do just want to say, if this is our last show of the year, or it's maybe the last one that you listen to, thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. That's a big one. And finally, why do I live in Sacramento while rooting for Orange County Soccer Club? Yes, it is in fact because I have very, very excellent taste. Thank you.
You have very excellent taste? Is that what it is?
That is why, yes.
My random thought or my random thing that I want to share is regardless of what holiday you celebrate over the next couple of months here, whether it's Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, anything else, all I want for Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, or whatever you celebrate is a like and a follow and a share and a subscribe for the show, because we would greatly appreciate that. It helps get our show out to more people. The more likes, the more follows, the more subscriptions we get, the more that the powers that be are willing to share our show with others that are like-minded as you. So please do so if you get a chance to do so. I want to thank our special guest, Dan Rutstein from Orange County Soccer Club. He is the president of business operations there. Thank you for joining us as always. And also my co-host, I do appreciate you all as well, Dylan and Brad, and producer Andy. I definitely appreciate you because you work hard behind the scenes to make this show run as smoothly as it does. My name is Ray. I'm your host for this show as always, and I appreciate you all, the listeners, as well. Thank you for watching. We'll be back again. This is the Orange and Black Soccer Cast. We are out.